maybe I'll explain to you some interesting stuff about the new energy that I've got a glimpse at. Incidentally, I'll go into some different stuff, but all environmental based, at least in the first part of the show, and all blog related. And make some points about that for you guys. But what happens is what Simmons is saying, they don't want to confront reality, but what we do, once again, with the mantra or the talking points you're getting is you're forcing reality. Time and time again, you're forcing reality. It's kind of like that accident. Maybe you've driven by an accident, you didn't want to look, but you had to look. That's confronting reality. People don't want to do it, but they'll do it. And that's all you have to do is repeat and move on. That's all it takes. And of course you have to have a consistent message, and you have to repeat it, and you have to have someone wise making your consistent message, and then it just becomes a matter of putting it out there and repeating it over and over. And Simmons goes on to talk about BNP and Peak Oil and how they're stealing some of the liberal, anytime you bring someone in, how they're stealing some of the liberal thunder on that. The BNP is doing that by touching on left issues in a white racialist way. Now they can't do it explicitly simply because there are all kind of weird laws in London. But anytime you steal their thunder away, when it comes to environmental, you have to understand that the Green Party is a large environmental party. It was started by the National Socialists, groups of the National Socialists, way back in Nazi Germany. When you start going in the environment, that is something that the racialist struggle pretty much owns eventually. It's just a matter of bringing them in. But you can't have an organic existence without a tribe existence. There's there's only one type of sustainable society, and that's organic. There are two types of sustainable organic societies. One is blood, which is the most organic substance we know of, white rabbit blood, and the other would be freedom of association, the Singapores and Dubais. But either one of them, you have to maintain posterity. Posterity means kith or kin. You got to have one group running things. And in a type of democratic republic, you know, in this country, you had pretty much an all-white oligarchy up until 1965. Things got fractured. You know, the Hebrews worked on that immigration law, and some of the other groups. You know, they can't do anything that the Lone Rangers, the whites, the Aryan helpers don't help them with. But generally speaking, you got to maintain posterity, and in a freedom of association type, that the multicultural, multiracial countries that are working in this world, there are two precedents. One, they're not democracies. Neither Singapore or Dubai is democracies. They give people what they want, but they're not democracies. Two, they maintain posterity. And in Dubai, you got a prince and these Arabs maintaining posterity by any means necessary. In other words, they're making the rules. They're saying, you can come here, you can hang out, you can do whatever you want to do under our rules, but you got to play by our rules. And the rules are simple. The tax, they don't have much of a tax. Singapore is similar, except the Chinese run things, and they negotiate. All multiracial countries are negotiated. The ones that are successful right now. The ones that aren't successful, falling to pieces, are pretty much one-sided, based on, you know, Europeans genociding themselves, and that's really not working. It's not working. I mean, you may think it is, but it's not. The stuff, you know, your enemy is not as powerful as you think. The difference is that they don't have anyone on a consistent message against them. And that's something I wanted to make a point on you. I gave an interview to Truck Roy, me and Lord Nelson. Lord Nelson is another what is called a Whitakerite. Bob Whitaker has made an influence on his thinking. We gave a interview for Truck Roy on Stormfront that you're going to hear. In that interview, I didn't go over the mantra, or the mantra didn't actually make it into the conversation, but everything starts out with that mantra. All my talking points are based on that mantra and that type of thinking. And I wanted to read that again for you here before I make a point about practical politics. The mantra, Africa for the Africans, Asia for the Asians, white countries for everybody. The Netherlands is more crowded than Japan. Belgium is more crowded than Taiwan, but no one says Japan or Taiwan will solve the race problem by bringing in millions and millions of third worlders and assimilate and intermarrying with them. The words immigration, tolerance, and especially assimilation are being used to promote a program of genocide against white children. Everyone says the final solution to the race problem is for every white country and only white countries to bring in the third world and assimilate and intermarry with non-whites. All this immigration and intermarriage is for every white country and only white countries. This is genocide against European children. Anti-racism is just a code word for anti-whites. That is like our common sense. That is where everything begins. That is where everything ends. But what you need to understand is that we're talking about baseball. Baseball is simply practical politics. That's where it starts. Articulating a message, getting on a message, staying focused on message and its talking point. It's pretty simple once you have it. It's just a matter of repeating. How it works is based on physics. Sound is everything. Before you went to the grocery store, you probably told your wife, you know, I'm going to go to the grocery store. You know, you first articulate that before you can do anything. What we're doing is articulating a message, and all you got to do is repeat the talking points and articulate the message yourself, or actually repeat it. It's already been articulated. But what you need to understand is, and it's something I was trying to make a point with Truck Roy, and I'm going to make a point over and over again, is we advocate baseball, not basketball. Basketball, shooting three-point shots, slam dunking, those are all violent concepts, deal and steal. That isn't the game on this planet. If right now in China, there was a group of elites, and there most likely is, looking to do something different, maybe looking to go with a new government, maybe looking to undermine the communist government, maybe looking to split off and form their own, maybe looking to bring the thing down under some type of revolution. It would be under practical politics or full spectrum practical politics. It would be under a velvet revolution type thing. That's kind of just how things work now. But what you need to understand is they're not going to risk their necks. They're not going to come out unless they see people playing baseball. They're not going to come out if a bunch of so-called revolutionaries are running around there trying to play basketball. That's not done that way. They're not going to risk their necks out for that. But what they will do when someone gets on a consistent message, then they will go to bat. But you got to have a consistent message, and you got to have people articulating that. That's where it all begins. That's where it's just practical politics. Can they outlaw that in China? No. No. They can give speech codes, and they do have speech codes, but you can get around any speech code. Hopefully by listening to me, you understand that we can get around any speech code because we don't break any rules. You don't have to. That's where it becomes funny. But it's all based on time. This stuff wouldn't work 15 years ago. It works now because it's based on right now. And everything's geared for a particular time. When it comes to these particular talking points and mantra, you can articulate a mantra years ahead of time, just like you can put out a song, but it's not going to become a hit until it's time for it to become a hit. But until someone hears you on a consistent message, until they hear you on a consistent set of talking points, they're not going to take you serious and risk their neck for you. Especially if they say, you know, you guys got a consistent message, get them on there, and why aren't they on that, so on and so forth. Well, one of the reasons, of course, it wasn't time, but that's just how it works. If someone in China, within the Chinese government is saying, okay, we're going to do that, but what are these idiots playing basketball for? What are you talking about playing basketball for? We can't play basketball. You know, that's not the rules here. You got to play baseball. Now, you can watch baseball, you can cheer for your team, you can get up and bat, you can pitch, you can play third base, you can play outfield, you can do anything you want in baseball because that's the game going. But you cannot play basketball. You know, to win, we got to play baseball right now. Now, if that's going to change, you know, I don't know. I don't know when we get on the head of the dragon and start breathing fire and dealing steel around the planet. Even if you're in war, there are rules of engagement, aren't there? Yeah, everything's rule-based now, or everything's law-based. You've got to be lawful. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you how it goes. But until you're on a consistent message, no one can help you. Until you're articulating the repeater, in your opinion I'm racist, you're just saying it because I'm white. Anti-racism is a code word for anti-white. Until you're getting this out there, until we're getting this out there, we can't really do anything. The good news is that Truck Roy made a point that we're building a foundation. Well, to be honest with you, something I don't know if I made this point on the show, but it's a point. The show was only an hour long. You can't make all those points in an hour. But one point I'd like to make, if I didn't, is that the base is already there. Sound, things can go very, very quickly once you articulate a message, and it's ready to take hold. It can be maybe you have a computer that was infected with a virus, and that Trojan horse laid in wait, and never said everyone, you know, all of a sudden that Trojan horse came out and shut down your computer. That's how this type of message works. It can break through things that you know. It's like looking at a particular the two-party structure in America is very, very, very rigid. It's very rigid. You can throw stones at it and it'll just sit there. You know, you got two parties, you can't do anything with them. There's not a whole lot of democracy. It is a constitutional republic that became a shamocracy. But it's also very dangerous. Everything